Two things that I find very enjoyable have come together in a fusion dance, and that's DC Comics superheroes and tokusatsu, all in an effort to create a new series called Immortal Legend Batman. That's right, it has got all the bells and whistles of things that could possibly speak to me. It's got tokusatsu vibes, like Kamen Rider or Super Sentai, or for my non-subtitle reading people, Power Rangers and Masked Rider. And then they've also got Batman thrown into the proceedings. It's should be the thing that I love unequivocally and be the greatest thing of all time and probably be on my comic of the year list without question. Let's find out why that's not the case.
You can't see me, you Stevie, wondering how I reach more evolutions than Evie and make it look easy.
What is up, Earth's mightiest subscribers? It is your boy Ernie the Blerd Without Fear. Welcome back to the channel. Alright, so today's video, yes, we're gonna be talking about Immortal Legend Batman. I have been sitting on this for a while. I got to read Immortal Legend Batman about a month ago, and I had been sitting with my feelings on this book for quite some time. Real quick, just because I want to make it very clear in case the intro didn't. So I said tokusatsu, and I know a lot of times people don't know what that means. I'm just going to be the quickest of primers, but I'll also leave a link to a video up here that also explains in grander detail what tokusatsu is. But for those who are uninitiated, tokusatsu is basically a Japanese word that means special filming. It effectively means any movie or TV show that has a heavy reliance on special effects. So that includes the Super Sentai series, which is majority used for the Power Ranger series here in the States, or Kamen Rider, which was what was used for both Masked Rider and Kamen Rider Dragon Knight over here in the States, Ultraman, and yes, even Godzilla and Gamera, stuff like that. All of that is considered tokusatsu. So if you think for 5 seconds you've never watched tokusatsu, you probably have, and you just didn't know what it was called. But yes, that is the genre of all of that. We've gotten that out of the way. What is Immortal Legend? Batman, but with more of a future space travel theme to it. Like, what is very common in probably more Power Rangers than with Super Sentai. This takes place in a world, or a universe rather, where space travel is readily available and super science is the thing. Like, it's not like, oh, only some people know about this. No, everybody does. Bruce Wayne is a traveling man, and he travels across different planets, civilizations. Not all in this issue, but it's heavily implied that he's pretty well traveled, and it's a thing. He's technically still a playboy billionaire philanthropist, as you would probably imagine, but he is a scary superhero that most people know as an immortal legend. In the midst of all that, and I don't really want to spoil some of the finer points of it, but I'll just say that there's a lot of interesting things that I feel Kyle and Matt did with trying to play with what you might assume Batman is. Maybe give you a taste of something maybe you didn't know that you wanted, which I thought was pretty cool. I kind of rolled my eyes at it at first, because I was like, oh, they're kind of going grim, dark, like edgelord with it, and I was like, I don't know how I feel about that. But then you find out a little later, wait a minute, that's not the case. Where does the whole Immortal Legend thing come from? Well, here, I'm gonna run it down for you. Basically, what you need to know is that humanity has traveled the stars. They've also discovered dark matter. They have been experimenting with dark matter as well. And as a combination of these things, humanity has accidentally torn a rift in the space-time continuum, leading to this dark matter universe spilling into the prime material plane. Monsters called shadows have emerged, and this is kind of how we get our monster of the week, who also just so happens to have the iconography of some of Batman's most famous rogues. Case in point, rather than a Two-Face, you have a two-faced man, as opposed to that. So yeah, I thought that was pretty cool. Because of all this happening, the monsters pouring out of the darkness, there has to be heroes to rise up and fight them. And what are effectively warrior monk style characters figured out how to harness the energies between the prime material plane and the dark matter dimension. And these beings would probably be who you think, only not. This is how we get a Batman, a Robin, and a Nightwing. And the reason why they're called immortal legends is because these are mantles that are to be passed along. The reason why they're immortal is not because they live forever. It's because the legacy of that character lives forever. And I would say, well, I think that DC Comics, well, in the past, they've had some pretty shady dealings in how legacy characters are handled. DC Comics has handled legacy characters better than most comic publishers could ever hope to. So I think it's pretty cool that they're using that as a tag for the series. Now, when you start getting into the how and the why and how everything works, well, it works like this. The three immortal legends represent very specific facets of reality. Batman represents the dark matter, the dark energy universe where the monsters come from, which makes sense because Batman is supposed to represent fear and instilling fear in other people. Now, when you get over to Robin in this particular instance, and by the way, yes, Batman is Bruce Wayne. In this particular instance, Robin is Tim Drake, and he pulls from the prime material plane's energies and more positive and upbeat energies. You could associate that with Tim Drake because of pretty much any of the Batman family, he's probably the most well-adjusted of all of them. That's not even up for debate. But then you also have Nightwing, who in this universe is not Dick Grayson. At least it's not when it initially kicked off. Nightwing pulls from both sides of the energy spectrums, both positive and negative, to use the best of both worlds, very similar to how Nightwing is the best of both worlds in DC Comics proper. Yeah, he has the same darkness in his soul that Bruce Wayne has, but he also has a positive streak in him that Bruce Wayne could never. It makes sense, why that's a thing. This is why everything is considered more of a mantle, why the immortal legends are considered what they are. We find out early on in the case of Robin that Stephanie Brown, the former spoiler and Batgirl of Prime Earth continuity, she was originally Robin, and then ultimately that role passed on to Tim Drake. Meanwhile, Harper Row, normally known as Bluebird, over in Prime Earth continuity was Nightwing before it passed on to Dick Grayson. And then of course we have Batman, who it's pretty much heavily implied Bruce is not the first Batman. Seems like someone else is, and the person that's narrating the backup story, we never get a hint of who their identity is, at least nothing concrete, but I start to wonder if it might be Ra's al Ghul. If it's not Ra's al Ghul, I think definitely Henry Ducard, if no one else. But we discover that whoever the case is, this person chose Bruce to be Batman. However, he seems to have regrets about it. He believes that Batman has abandoned his post and now is beseeching a character by the name of Thomas Elliot. And for those familiar with that name, Thomas Elliot usually goes by the nom de guerre, Hush. I'm gonna give you guys the quick answer, just off top, what I think about this series. Is Immortal Legend Batman good? The short answer, yeah. It's pretty good. Okay, so why is it not my favorite thing in the world? To kind of go into why I am not as high on it as maybe some other people might be, even people who are diehard Tokusatsu fans, I kind of feel like it's Tokusatsu in name only. And the reason why I say that is because some other series who I feel have adopted Tokusatsu elements, they usually tend to take on what I feel are some of the more fantastical elements of that and figure out ways to make it work in a comic book setting. You can look at books like Radiant Black or Inferno Girl Red, something of that magnitude. And of course, also the Power Rangers series proper, over at Boom Studios. But yeah, this doesn't really do that. There's very little in the way of things that make it Tokusatsu Batman outside of the flashy suit and I don't know, maybe the environment, the setting, which to be fair, it's a generic space setting. I had a very different idea of what this was going to be than what it ultimately wound up becoming, and I should have known better going in. So I actually do not blame anyone for why I feel the way I feel about the series. And I'm gonna go ahead and express right now, I actually think the series is good. And I think a lot of people are going to love it. I think it might even be a gateway drug for people who want to get into tokusatsu or have never heard of tokusatsu or don't know what tokusatsu is. I think this comic would be a fantastic way to kind of gateway drug you into that genre and make you a fan. That said, for me, it doesn't do it because I'm already in. I'm already a tokusatsu diehard. I have watched probably somewhere in the neighborhood of at least 35 to 40 seasons of Super Sentai, and probably almost as many of those in terms of, maybe not as many, but like probably somewhere in the neighborhood of at least 20 some odd Kamen Rider series. And I've seen every Godzilla movie that's out there. I've watched a pretty huge chunk of Ultraman and Gamera as well. So like, yeah, tokusatsu is nothing new to me. I kind of look at it almost in like the Bane sense of it. Like, oh, you merely adopted tokusatsu. I was born into it. That's kind of where I'm at. That's kind of where I'm at with it. Like for me, like this is the wacky tobacco of tokusatsu gateway drugs. Whereas for me, I'm already on that black tar heroin. You know, so that's why it doesn't hit for me probably the same way it's gonna hit for a lot of other people. But that said, I do enjoy it. I do think it's good. It's just, it's not everything I was hoping it would be. And some of the things I was hoping it would do, it does not do. And that's also, once again, it's on me, not on the creative team. But you know what? I'm willing to give it, you know, the grace, because once again, it's only one issue. The second issue is, you know, also out there in the weeds. I haven't read it yet, but I believe at this point, I think it is available for me to check out. And maybe I'll have a different opinion of it. But even if I did, I couldn't talk about it here because it's not out yet. But if there's one thing I can definitely say I am excited about this series for, the one thing that will keep me coming back is that I'm excited seeing that something like this could potentially put tokusatsu more on the map for people who aren't as familiar with it. If it does at least that, then honestly, I don't really care whether or not it moves the fucking mountains and clouds for me. But I don't know. Anyway, you guys let me know what you thought about it. Like I said, you know, whether you're a tokusatsu fan or tokusatsu newbie or diehard or don't even know what the hell tokusatsu was until 5 seconds ago. You know, whatever the case is, let me know what you think about it. Let me know in the comments. We out of here. Peace out.